Well, greetings and welcome to episode 48. I happen to be a big fan of film noir, the crime drama movie style from the 1930s through around the 1950s that featured deeply cynical attitudes, stark lighting effects, intricate plots, and fatalism, starring such actors and actresses as Humphrey Bogart, Robert Mitchum, John Garfield, James Cagney, Richard Conte, Barry Sullivan, Peter Lorre, Edward G. Robinson, Glenn Ford, Gene Tierney, Gloria Graham, Ida Lupino, and Lauren Bacall, to name a few. The one thing that I always wondered about their movies was that all of these characters had the same look and demeanor. You know, the hard look on their face, the cynicism, the wisecracks, always dressed to a T, always ready to reach for their gun. You see, I would have thought that if perhaps they toned down some of these attributes to not be so evident, then maybe they would have survived longer since most of these film noir characters didn't live very long. But that was the essence of these films. And the other thing that was a bit odd in film noir was that the women were just as untrustworthy, suspicious, and bitter as the men were. And I think that two world wars only 23 years apart was the major contributing factor for the development of film noir. And some of the best film noir movies were The Maltese Falcon, Casablanca, Out of the Past, Double Indemnity, To Have and Have Not, White Heat, Laura, Murder My Sweet, Key Largo, The Big Sleep, The Big Heat, Angels with Dirty Faces. And I always loved my film noir. It's my favorite film genre. I'm sure that just about everyone at some point in their lives has experienced this fleeting thought that what are some of the most enjoyable experiences you've had in your life? And when I was recently at a wedding for a friend's daughter, it dawned on me. For me, one of my favorite life experiences is the simple joy of watching children have fun. You know what I mean, the real to the core, to the bone joy of real fun. And by real, I mean nothing manufactured here. Only children can experience this type of joy of just letting loose and not worrying about what anyone thinks or says. They don't care. I was watching these kids that were between the ages of 3 through 9 on the dance floor with the jams booming from the DJ, and I found my eyes fixed on watching them and said to myself, now that's the real deal type of fun. They don't care. They've got work to do. They want to have genuine, bona fide, legitimate fun. They want to remember this. And while I was watching them, I vaguely remembered some of these days when I was on a mission to have fun when I was young. You know, that don't get in my way and don't try to stop me in my pursuit. If you want real fun in capital letters, only children can achieve this, because most adults are full of shit and uptight, including myself. In the same frame at this wedding, I can't seem to stop this observational mode that I'm in. Everything I do and everywhere I go, I'm taking these mental notes. I can't help it. It's what I do. The wedding was held at an Elks Lodge in a shoreline town in Connecticut, and I noticed that they all had plaques on the wall of the high exalted rulers over the decades. And I was like, oh, high exalted rulers are an actual thing? I was never a part of these groups and had no real experience with them. So when I used to watch the classic show, The Honeymooners, Ralph Cramden and Ed Norton were a part of the Raccoon Lodge, and they used to always talk about the high exalted rulers. And for all I knew, I thought it was made up. I got such a kick out of actually seeing these plaques with this label because all this time I always thought that high exalted rulers was a myth. I always have to laugh when people make the claim that failure is not an option. I realize that it's become one of these slogans that is supposed to perpetuate confidence and strength. But if you really believe in this statement, you don't know very much about reality or life in general. Failure is always an option. And I don't mean failure as a choice, I mean it as a constant possibility in our universe. And yes, success is nice. I have nothing against it, but there has never been and never will be a living thing on our planet that hasn't failed. And if you don't believe me, then you're living in an illusion. There's always something or someone that can take you out. So good luck to all you invincibles out there who think that they will never fail. Maybe, just maybe, failure is a very valuable and critical lesson to learn. Hey, I love humanity, but don't get too cocky out there. Well, folks, it looks as though racism and gun-toting fools are inescapably back in flying colors like never before, but I know that it never left. It's just that the worms were lying low for a while. Racism is here to stay, and I can only hope that we're prepared for it because, as always, nothing gets done in this country because we're so divided. No one has the balls to do anything about it. And how about trying to ratify some things in our Constitution and eliminating the useless Senate It's bought and paid for, in which 100 people decide what happens to 330 million people. It's quite ineffective. I'm going to stop here, and this is my rage about what happened at the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, in which 19 children and 2 teachers were killed, and somehow it took over an hour for the police to show up, and that the school door was unlocked, and supposedly the shooter was in the school for an hour before the shooting started. At least that's what I've heard and read. If I've made any errors here, please excuse me, because I'm quite burnt out with the everyday news of shootings throughout the country. It's very exhausting and very disturbing. And if you want to see a genuine and impassioned reaction to what happened and what should be done with these senseless murders, watch a video of the Golden State's Warriors coach, Steve Kerr's reaction. Exactly how I feel, and it's how billions of people around the world feel about this. Unbelievable, and I will stop here.